Okay.
Welcome, Dalek Task Forces, Intrusion Countermeasures Group, and Explosive Using Delinquents. Wait, haven't we seen this story before? Well, at least Quill and Charlie are new touches. It's the 290th episode of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 23rd of January 2019, and featuring Big Finish's Class Season 2 in Remembrance. Written by Guy Adams and starring Catherine Kelly as Miss Quill, Greg Austin as Charlie Smith, and featuring Sophie Aldred as Ace. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell
I slept during the morning today.
and Randy Ronson McCulloch.
I slept during the afternoon today after
Tim
not
the
sleeping
Enchant-
last night.
Mm-hmm.
Tim the Enchanter will hopefully be with us later. Once again, he is working late. And once again, Thomas Fireheart will not be with us due to audiophobia.
We do need to get him over that.
Was that a diagnosed illness? If you or your friends experience audiophobia, please contact our
What else do you
support
call
line.
it? It's a fear of audio, so that's for sure.
At 1999 here again. Yes.
Oh dear.
Okay. So, if you didn't hear us prior to the podcast while we were setting things up, the state of Wisconsin in the last 24 hours had a huge amount of snowfall. And that's after a pretty decent snowfall not half a week earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we're buried right now.
I'm
And
thinking that
exhausted,
we got
apparently.
somewhere between 4 and 5 inches here.
And we got closer to 7 here on top of the 5 we got on.
Well, that's
What
right.
was
You
it?
got hammered a couple of days before that, and I think we got maybe an inch or two.
Yep. So we've gotten hammered twice. So we've gotten over a foot of snowfall. I think it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday into Saturday that we got the first snowfall. And then,
I think if everything cleared, we're at about half a foot right now.
yeah, and we're about at a foot. So,
We weren't hit quite as bad here in Eastern Connecticut. Western Connecticut. Sorry, we mainly had freezing rain on. First a couple inches of snow and then freezing rain on Saturday night, and then some more freezing rain on Sunday, followed by the 2 coldest days we've had thus far this winter.
yeah, that's kind of
Basically, keeping all the ice around.
I knew
yeah.
two
Well,
other
mind you,
YouTubers that lived in
this
Connecticut.
snowstorm is probably heading your way. So you'll probably get that like tomorrow or the day after.
If it didn't pass just north of him, maybe.
Yeah, if it doesn't go into Canada. But also, you have to remember that Bill is not that far from a large body of water.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that
And
will
a
turn
large
into
body
mostly
of
other
water.
things.
No, large body of waters tend to mild the temperatures, but
Mhm.
increase the snowfall.
Mhm.
Oh, that is true.
At least with snow, you're more likely to have things close, and you're less likely to have downed power lines.
Oh yeah,
Compared to freezing rain.
every freaking thing was closed here.
I don't think
I
a
was-
single
I was
thing has
sup-
been closed up here.
I was surprised we did not have more downed power lines with this freezing rain, because last time we had freezing rain, 2/3 of the city had no power.
Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure when I shoveled this morning, I found footprints from kids walking to school.
Yeah, no. Matt, Truax was closed until 1 p.m.
Hmm.
And MATC never closes.
Almost never, yeah.
Yeah, that's how bad it was. I looked at all the closing lists this morning, and I'm just like, oh my god.
I think out of the 2 or 3
Madison
years I went,
schools closed.
Madison,
Middleton-
MATC closed maybe once or twice.
Yeah, that's how bad it was. They said it's like closed, open. The building opens 1 p.m. And then it's like Madison schools closed, Middleton Cross Plains closed. Everything from here to the Mississippi River was closed.
I think there was
Everything.
one third time where they're like, well, if you feel it's necessary, don't come to school today. And I'm like, yup.
Meanwhile, the residents of Coal Hill Academy are like, it can snow so much that school is closed.
Yeah. No, it was bad
Oh,
enough that city government basically had essential personnel only, or city and state government. If you're not essential to handling a snow crisis, stay the fuck home. That was their basic philosophy. So yeah, the plows I think started at around, I want to say 1 p.m., 2 p.m. yesterday. No, even earlier than that. And we're basically out for about 36 to 40 hours.
It occurs to me that in that weather, if you have a plow, you'd probably be the only person who could Uber like medical personnel to and from work.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they do with that because I've never seen like snow plows on ambulances or anything. But they also might be doing more med flight too,
Mm.
because they do have helicopter ambulances around here.
Well, I just mean
that's
getting
true.
employees to the that need to work in the emergency room to
Oh,
work in the first
that
place.
they do try to make sure main roads are cleared for stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a priority series of roads.
Mm-hmm.
Priority one is to and from hospitals, police stations, fire departments. Priority two is the Belt Line, which is the major highway around Madison. And then priority three roads are the other non highway arteries, such as University Avenue, East Washington, Midvale,
And then they'll
those
get
kind of.
into the inner towns and so forth.
And then they'll get into the small residential roads. And then some of them don't get the attention they should. Like the road outside my house, yeah, I swear gets plowed by a blind man with a very dull scoop.
I'd almost think that too sometimes, but actually I saw the handiwork this week today, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, you guys actually got close to the curb. Thank you.
I
That's
swear it's some idiot with a snowblower that just
usually
tries to.
people can barely get within a foot of the thing.
Yeah, it's.
Like last time there was a major snow, apparently someone just drive down one lane in the middle of the interstate, and it's just like, well, the chuckleheads can figure out how to get where they're going on their own.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen around here.
No, you can't do that here. If you did that, you'd lose your job probably within a week.
I can tell you though, you know the layout of my apartment to the parking lot, right, Matt? Because you've been
Uh,
here a couple times.
the layout of your apartment to your parking lot, yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a nice privacy wall now. That's all the
Oh,
plowed snow that's off the driveway.
Ah,
fantastic. You got your own snow fort in front of your window.
Yeah, pretty much.
that reminds me of the year that there was so much snow that Walmart pretty much, but still in June, had a snow, ice, and rock salt wall high enough to be from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this is getting there. I'm swearing to God I can reach the second floor balconies from that thing now. Anyway, let's stop talking about the weather because on tonight's show we've got news and birthdays, followed by geek talk, and I can tell you there's not a lot of news and a bit of birthdays.
Hey,
And then,
hey,
And I'm
slow
not
hey,
sure
the
if any of
news
us have seen
down.
anything.
hmm? What
I
was that,
said, and
Bill?
I'm not sure. I said I'm not sure if any of us have seen anything either.
Yeah, you don't have any reviews of shame that you want to cover, do you, Bill?
I should get on those.
Yes, you
Yes, you
should.
should.
Shame.
Shame.
Then followed by me doing the episode summary because I promised to last week.
That's right.
And then our episode review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get down to it. With birthdays. The first birthday we have this week was on the 18th of January and was the birthday of Christopher H. Bidmead, a script editor from 1980 to 1981 and a writer up till 84. He turned 78. One of
Fair
our
bit of
big
work.
birthdays was on the 20th of January, and that's the birthday of Tom Baker, who played the Doctor from 1975 to 1981. He turned 85.
Yay!
Wow, he's getting up there.
Yeah. He's starting to clock into Christopher Lee levels of age.
No, he's still got another at least 5 years before he hits Christopher Lee levels. And then you have
He's
to see
getting
him
close,
start a heavy metal band.
That'd be interesting
I'd
to watch.
actually like to see, yeah. And then we have two birthdays on the 22nd of January, yesterday. The first is Tommy Knight, who played Luke Smith in the Sarah Jane Adventures. He turned 26. And then the final birthday is a posthumous one, and that is for John Hurt, who played the War Doctor back in Day of the Doctor in 2013, the 50th anniversary special. He would have been 79, but died in 2017 at 77.
Good variety of birthdays covering 3 distinct eras of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Tommy Knight, isn't it weird to feel like we're old enough to have watched him grow up?
Pretty much. It's like I heard he
We've been
turned
kind of
26.
pseudo
It's
watching
like,
him from afar, watching what he does.
It's like
Mhm.
I heard he turned 26, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm old.
I feel freaking old. I remember when you were a kid.
Mhm.
Well,
What
yeah,
are we?
if
What
you
are we?
think
Your
about
uncles?
it, the Sarah Jane Adventures was like 11 years ago. So he was like 15, 14.
That's like,
Mhm.
isn't young Amelia Pond now older than Karen Gillan was
When she
that was
Not
started,
filmed?
quite.
yeah,
Not
not
quite.
quite.
Oh,
Not she's not quite there in age yet, but
okay.
we've been we would have been listening to her grow up too. It's just like
I
this
think
is
we're looking
weird.
at that next year, Bill.
Hmm.
Like in the next year or two, yeah.
I think she's like 18 now, because I think she was like
Okay.
11. Yeah, I think she was like, because she started in 2010, so I think she was like 9. I mean, I could be wrong,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's within a year of it anyway.
Within a
All
couple
right.
years of it, yeah.
The first filming block for Series 12 of Doctor Who has begun. Rumors started earlier this week about Jodie Whittaker, Mandip Gill, and Joseph Cole being spotted at Heathrow, possibly en route to South Africa. A few days later, the National Television Awards occurred, and Bradley Walsh accepted an award for The Chase remotely from South Africa, where he was working on another show. Finally, today, the Doctor Who Twitter account broke the news that yes, the first filming block for Series 12 is underway in the West Cape of South Africa, hopefully firmly silencing the people who are convinced that Doctor Who is on hold because they hated Series 11 and therefore need extra time to prepare.
Now, well, I think they are taking a little bit of extra time to do the filming and special effects
Mhm.
blocking,
No,
because
but clearly
it's
they're fine
over a
enough with the
year.
script to start filming.
It's over a year before Doctor Who is supposed to start, which should be,
Mhm.
I think, in March or April of 2020.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided to have an entire year's break thereabouts, but I think this was probably a plan well
I
before
think
the
Mhm.
reaction.
I think they decided to try the fall block, and they didn't like it, so they're moving back to the spring block. So that means that you can't do that in
So
6
they're
months.
giving it a year break to get it
I,
back in the right
I,
position. Yeah.
I think they rushed to get a season in by 2018 because they knew people would bitch, and
Mhm.
decided that they didn't like rushing that
Yep.
much.
Yeah.
So they're
So they're giving this one time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that means they're going to have a little more time. If there's Yeah, but what I'm surprised is that they're starting filming already, which means they're basically taking extra time to block the special effects.
I wonder.
I'm not
It's
surprised
also
because yeah, that gives them the time to actually properly get things straight.
it's also possible they want plenty of summer South Africa time.
That's also possible that they need
Mm.
the South African summer.
Yeah, it might be the
Um,
seasonal thing. Yeah.
Because from what I hear, there's 3 episodes that might be filmed in South Africa. So
Hmm.
Because the
it might
last thing
be.
you want to happen is what happened to Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh God! Well, mind you, that wasn't seasonal.
That was
That
unusual seasonal happenstance. Yeah.
Yeah, that was they had their equivalent to their monsoon season in Australia. So every place they were supposed to film in Australia was full of flowers, which
So
is not
flowers
what
and
you want.
greenery and animals, and the director is just holding his head and screaming internally.
Yes.
Post-apocalyptic flowers.
Yeah.
Such a wasteland.
So instead, they filmed it in South Africa, or another African country, and I think it was Nanzia or something, and then just digitally added in the mountains.
Oh, so they got lucky. Nobody blessed the rains down in Africa.
Yeah. All right. So Eric Soward, the script editor for Doctor Who in the early to mid 1980s, and writer of Resurrection of the Daleks and Revelation of the Daleks, has written the novelizations for those 2 serials, the first time these episodes have been novelized, and the last 2 Dalek episodes to have them done.
Woo!
These 2 books will be released in hardcover this July and November, respectively, for £12.99 from BBC Books.
Nice.
So we are getting down to the final Doctor Who, Classic Who episodes to be novelized.
Yep.
Then finally, with that out of the way, they can just do reprints every now and again. And I'm actually surprised by this, that this wasn't being a Target book release. I thought BBC
It's
Books...
not Target?
It just says BBC Books. Usually these things... It might be that when they go to soft cover, they might get the Target imprinting.
True.
But I know that BBC Books owns the Target imprinting now, so...
So
Gotcha.
this,
So
so
it's
because
not
this
like
is
a
the big
rights issue or
fancy,
anything.
big to-do first hardcover version, it's going directly through the big company, and then the soft covers and stuff will probably go through Target and stuff.
Do you know if
Yep.
that's what they did with Shada and I think there might have been City of Death?
I don't
I'm
know for
not
certain.
sure. Yeah, they might have just gone straight to paperback.
No, City of Death had a hardcover release. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have been what they did there too. It's hard to tell. I don't think they gave those kind of details at the time.
Because I know the Target novelization was dead for a while.
That too.
And then BBC bought it, and yes.
And it regenerated?
Yes, the Target collection has a version of City of Death now. And it is the by James Goss, so... So yeah. That's what they do, is that when it comes out on paperback, it gets the Target collection version, or there's a separate version for...
maybe to match the existing covers or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I could also purchase a paperback version of Doctor Who City of Death regular. And then the Target novelizations, of course, gets the Target style artwork and stuff. But I bet those come out like a year after.
Yeah, whenever they decide they want to do reprints.
Yep.
And that's probably more for collectors at this point too.
Yeah, for people that have a huge Target collection, like me. I gotta pull out.
All right. In other releases, there's one out already. Is the River Song Fights the Masters in the Diary of River Song Series 5. 4 different regenerations of the Master in 4 different episodes, including The Bechdel Test by Jonathan Morris featuring Michelle Gomez as Missy. Animal Instinct by Roy Gill featuring Jeffrey Beavers as the Master. The Lifeboat and the Death Boat by Eddie Robson featuring Eric Roberts as the Master. And Concealed Weapon by Scott Hancock featuring Derek Jacobi.
As the Master.
Yep, it doesn't say that, but yes, as the Master. The Diary of River Song Series 5 is available now from Big Finish for 23 CD, £20 download. I actually went ahead and picked this up because it's, all the Masters, and especially since this is Eric Roberts' second appearance as the Master, unless there's one I'm not aware of.
No, I believe it is Eric Roberts' first appearance as the Master in Big Finish. And apparently he's a giant block of wood. Oh, that's right. He's appeared in
novels, but does it even count as Eric Roberts?
No, he was in the 1996 telemovie.
Right, but I mean,
I
think that Master has appeared in books, but does it even count as Eric Roberts at that point?
No, it's books.
Yeah.
You don't get his wooden hammy acting.
You either have to act it on film or on front of a microphone for it to count. But yeah, apparently Eric Roberts is a giant block of wood in this.
Well, that's because he goes between block of wood and extreme ham. So probably what you got out of the trailers, if you don't listen to trailers, is the wood.
No, because apparently Bill listened to this.
That's the one story I've listened to thus far, and I was telling
apparently
Randy that the line in the trailer is his most emotional line.
Well,
and it's not and it's not really an emotional line. Yeah,
dear. He's just being a block of wood. I think he's not a voice actor.
Yeah, if you think about his role in the 96 telemovie, he's basically a block of wood for the first 2 acts, until he comes out in that Time Lord outfit, and then he's basically just going balls to the wall huge ham, with the exception of 2 lines.
That would have worked actually perfectly for this, because basically he starts out as being undercover because he's the master, obviously. But when he's revealed as the master, his voice doesn't change at all. And that's where a large ham would have been perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, once he came out in that, I always dress for the occasion.
I don't want to give any more details because we'll probably review it at some point.
He's just absolutely huge ham on that. And then if you think about it, the only other 2 lines where he had any emotion during the telemovie was the Asian child. And this is an ambulance. Which I swear to God, the director got him to say that line by stomping on his foot right before the take.
Well, they did just literally throw him around the ambulance, I believe, before that scene.
And he had acid splashed on his face or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So he needed to emote.
Or yeah, they just sprayed him with a chemical extinguisher.
That's right. Yeah, they sprayed him with the extinguisher.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably enough to get a reaction out of him to begin with.
Yeah, but I swear to God, to get him to do that line, I swear to God, they stomped on his foot, because that's the only way they can get him to emote like that, is if the actor himself is physically in pain. So that really does it for our news. Was not a lot of news.
Tim's not here yet. We need to find news.
I mean, there was some other...
Let's talk politics. No, don't.
No.
No. Bill, bad Bill.
Bill.
Go stand in the corner, Bill. There was other, Big Finish news of stuff that they had updates for, but not enough that I thought it would be worth featuring on the show. Like, they had some details for the Time War 2, or they had stuff we had talked about before, the 8th Doctor's new companion in Ravenous 3, which we had talked about when they announced it 3 months ago. But now they had pictures, so that was just
Pictures of the companion. Oh, actually, yeah. It's an audio drama.
Yeah. So I was just kind of nah. So, we'll move on to Geek Talk. Let's see if we can shame Tim by having this podcast done before he gets here. Okay, so I didn't go to the theater this week, but I did notice that Amazon Prime Video had started to carry Once Upon a Deadpool, which of course was the Christmas time re-release of Deadpool 2 in a PG-13 level, featuring a whole bunch of Fred Savage. We've talked about this on the show before, but I just wanted to go back and give my own opinion on it, and that is the fact that I loved it. The scenes with Fred Savage, and yes, Deadpool has literally kidnapped Fred Savage and strapped him to a bed. I think duct taped him to a bed to force him to sit here and listen to this. The bed, of course, is a literal recreation of the little boy's room from A Princess Bride, complete with the little Santa cutout on a wall. It was great.
But they even got an old bag of Cheetos behind him.
Yep. Yeah, it's obviously adult Fred Savage who's having none of this at first. And it's just kind of great because, Deadpool also has the little thing to bleep out swear words. And there's one scene where they're talking about Brad Pitt and Fred Savage is how he'd like to fight Brad Pitt, except Deadpool keeps bleeping fight. And yeah, it kind of goes sideways from there.
We have to find a way to put adult humor in a PG-13 movie.
Mm-hmm.
Fake bleeps.
Especially for Deadpool.
Yes, especially if you're Deadpool. And then they keep making fun of the fact oh, no, I would rather see a Marvel movie. We are Marvel. No, you're Fox. Yes, but we're now owned by Disney. They actually make that line. And I'm laughing my ass off for all of these little cutscenes.
Yes, but we're not owned by Disney. Wink at the camera.
Especially when Fred Savage's fanboy comes out for one scene. Wait, you got cable? It's just like he fanboys about cable for 5 minutes, revealing pretty much his entire comic book origins. And it's like, are you doing all of that justice? Well, we got the time travel bit. It's just absolutely hysterical.
So I assume you would say get the multi-version if you can.
Yes, if they come out with a multi-version, see it.
I think I've seen it.
If this hits like Netflix or someplace where Amazon Prime, free with Prime, because we actually had to pay money for it, get it. It's worth it just for this alternate take of it.
So if I'm paying money to rent it on Amazon Prime, would you say the R version, this version?
If you've not seen Deadpool before, I would probably stick with the original Deadpool 2.
Okay.
First of all, see Deadpool if you haven't.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That one I've seen. Deadpool 2 I missed in the theaters, and I keep forgetting that I can get it on Prime until it's right now.
There's a version on Prime called like the uncut version of Deadpool 2. I have not seen that, but I'm curious.
With Deadpool, that just makes it sound like it's the uncircumcised version.
It's like a director's cut. There's additional scenes and stuff. I don't know what's all in that one yet, but it has additional footage, and I don't know if that's some of the footage that they used for Once Upon a Deadpool or not. But no, for the full-on, quote-unquote, serious version of Deadpool 2, you probably want to watch the original.
Okay.
This is something to watch on a lark. Especially if you're a fan of The Princess Bride or Fred Savage. Because, yeah. I know The Princess Bride back and forth, so the point that they're doing these cut scenes, I'm like, yep. There's also one point where Deadpool is basically trying to kill himself repeatedly, and it just cuts to Fred Savage just staring at him like, what are you talking about? I think it's I think it's the way where he blows his head off in front of an elderly couple on a park bench, and Fred Savage is just like, you know. It's just the timing on it is great, so it's worth watching once. If you've already seen Deadpool 2, wait till you can see it for free, or if you don't mind, because currently it's $6 on Amazon Prime. Aaron didn't think it was worth the $6. I perfectly was glad for it.
I think unless the price went up, I think regular Deadpool 2 was $3 last time I looked.
But this is just out.
Right.
So probably Once Upon a Deadpool will drop in price within a few months. But yeah, definitely. I want to see them release them as a dual pack, Once Upon a Deadpool and Deadpool 2. But it is definitely worth watching if you can see it for a low price. Still got to go see Aquaman. I really want to go see Aquaman. I hear it's pretty good. And oddly, I hear that it was made better by Zack Snyder. I'm like, what the fuck?
Is that
supposedly he had some sort of interference with Joss Whedon buying into the movie, and that's supposedly made better, but I don't know the details.
Apparently, if we had gotten if we'd gotten Joss Whedon's Aquaman, he would have been closer to the version that we saw in Justice League, where he was basically just a frat boy party animal that's mooning over Mira. And instead,
which is the same guy we got in the trailers for Aquaman.
But apparently, Zack Snyder went through and retouched him.
Okay.
So that he had some more. So he is a little more serious. The problem is, Zack Snyder tends to go too serious because he tends to go into emo angst for everybody.
He seems
but Joss Whedon is the other end of that equation. So, what's that?
I said because Snyder seems to come from the David Goyer school of filmmaking.
Yeah. Whereas Joss Whedon tends to go for the light, sophomoric jokes. And, somewhere you got to find a balance between the two.
Yeah, you need to find a balance because going too far in any extreme for both of those is going to derail fans.
Mm-hmm. Honest to God, I swear the person they should have put in charge of the DC EU was Paul Dini. I still swear to God that's the case.
Well, if rumors bear out, it might be James Gunn, at least for parts of it.
Well, that was who Snyder wound up working with to tone down this. No, Paul Dini, if you don't know, was the guy that basically made Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series. I think he was even somewhat dealt with Justice League.
Or did they work together?
They worked together. Dini and Tim were together. I think it was Paul Dini started the ball, and then Bruce Timm picked it up and rolled with it for like the second half of Superman and Justice League.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Paul Dini was basically the person that created Harley Quinn, which, as you note, has become a major character.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So much so that they're actually trying to detach her from the Joker, too.
Yep, and he's the one that revamped Victor Freeze, a.k.a. Mr. Freeze's background, and made him from a B-list villain that just makes ice puns to an actual serious character.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love
that's a lot of the work he did with Batman.
Mm-hmm. And that has since retroactively become the character's backstory in DC Comics.
Mm-hmm. That was so much so much a huge effect on the character that even the completely campy and horrible Batman and Robin borrowed it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, it looks like his wife is going to be a villain on Batwoman, based on Elseworlds anyway.
Oh.
There was a lot of stuff in Elseworlds that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did see Elseworlds. Because you realize, like, one of the things that Arrow and Flash got laced with was apparently Scarecrow's fear toxin.
Yep.
I'm like watching that episode and like, oh my God, they just plopped the entire Batman mythos.
Well, they're fighting in Arkham Asylum. You kind of have to at that point.
But yes, they did it all. I'm like, oh my God. They just dropped it all right into the Arrowverse.
If only they could have just put a long cackle somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a scene. Apparently you weren't paying enough attention. Where they're going down a corridor and all the names on the corridors are things like Enigma and Cobblepot.
I was aware of that scene. I wasn't aware how deep it went because I didn't actually see all the names when I was watching it, but I
went through frame by frame.
Okay.
I'm like, Cobblepot, Enigma, and there's a riddle written on the wall next to Enigma's cell. I'm like, yes!
But I'm just thinking it would have been so great if they just had Mark Hamill just like come into the studio for 20 minutes, be like, hey, can you do a long, slow cackle?
You'd think they could have done that too because of, how they've worked with Hamill before on The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
So you thought they would have, yeah. It would have been great just to have them come down and you just hear that, or singing a song. I don't know. They did this around Christmas, didn't it?
I think Christmas was around or it was the last thing before they went on hiatus. So
yeah, but
between Thanksgiving and Christmas, maybe, or around Thanksgiving.
Let's see. Beginning of December, started December 9th through December 11th.
Okay.
So this was on Arrow, so it was December 10th that they did that. But yes, if they had just had perhaps a voice echoing down the corridor, singing the Jingle Bells Batman Smells song.
That's also canon, too.
Yes, it is. And he actually sang that once in an episode of Batman the Animated Series.
Yep.
Yep, I remember that.
But just hearing that, that would have been just scarily awesome and freaky. Things they could have done.
Oh well.
But yeah, I haven't really seen anything else. I've caught up, I think minus a week or two on Supergirl, and Arrow and Flash. But I'm still not caught up on Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm.
All in all, I liked the plot in Arrow thus far. Less thrilled with the Flash version, and Supergirl is just kind of getting me down, actually.
Yeah, my
Mhm.
friend Mike is actually constantly poking me about the stuff that's pissing him off in Supergirl lately.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people, especially those that have some that I find myself to be in agreement, having a lot of frustration with the current season of Supergirl.
Yeah,
They just seem to be hammering this really bad message over and over again. It's just like, yeah, this sounds like really bad writing.
yeah, it's kind of just not really appealing to me at
Speaking of
all.
which, according to my emails, they've recently cast Lex Luthor to appear in Supergirl.
I've
Oh
heard
dear.
that. I'm actually looking. That might actually spark my interest. Um,
Hopefully that's a turnaround for the show, but let's just cross our fingers on that.
well, it'll be interesting because that one of the main characters in Supergirl is Alexa's sister, right? What is it, Lana Luthor or something like that?
Didn't know he had a
Lena
sister.
Lena Luthor. It's been a character that was added to canon, I think, around the New 52 or a little earlier.
Hmm.
I was gonna say I
Anyway,
wouldn't be surprised if she was, like a Diggle or one of the other characters that was added to the CW and then became canon.
I think she was originally created for Smallville when Lex bowed, or when what's his face that played Lex,
Ah,
Michael Rosenbaum, bowed out of the show like 2 seasons early.
oh, I see.
So they
Oh.
had Lena Luthor, who was his adopted sister,
Hmm.
um, take over the helm of LexCorp.
CW has since made her his both adopted sister and half sister.
And now in Supergirl, it's just sister.
So they've been upping that character slowly.
Well, no, I mean in Supergirl she's half sister slash adopted sister.
Okay.
Same father, different mother, I believe. Yeah.
And now she's taken over because Lex Luthor has been in prison for the entire run of Supergirl. She took over LexCorp, renamed it LCorp, and has been running that. But she doesn't have his anti-alien slant, at least not until recently. But yeah, she's a let's see. No, actually, she first appeared way back in 1961
Ah,
Holy
in
cow.
Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane number 23. So that is a
Hmm.
canon character.
pre
Ken character who doesn't get much mention,
Yeah,
let's be honest.
well, that's because in a lot of the continuity she's been dead.
Hmm.
Because I think she died in pre-crisis, and then they brought her back post-crisis, and then they brought her back post-Infinite Crisis. Something to do with Brainiac, and then brought her back again, New 52.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds almost as complicated as Supergirl.
Yeah, well, there's been like 6 Supergirls, so.
Yeah. I keep waiting for them to bring Power Girl into the CW just for the fuck
I
of it.
would freaking
I
love Power Girl.
I actually really thought they were going to for Elseworlds, and they didn't. I was
That
kind
would
of
have been
upset.
awesome. I would love to have them do that, and just one scene where they make the boob window joke.
Mhm.
because that is the occasional thing that gets snarked on in the
Being
comics.
being the CW, it probably would have been met with a punch.
Probably.
Although I wouldn't mind a variation on that speech from I think it was from JLE, uh, where she gives an explanation as to why.
But yes, yeah, that is a canon character, so
Hmm,
that's just one that you don't see often.
apparently.
And she came up again in Smallville because, like I said, Michael Rosenbaum stepped down as Lex for the last season or two of Smallville. So they needed someone to fill that gap. And I think that had been the only time that she had been in media. Nope, she was also in Superboy. Back in like 1988 to 1992 was in Superboy, Smallville, and then Supergirl. The thing is that they Lena Luthor in Smallville was basically the alias of Tess. Was Tess Mercer was her the name everyone knew her as. So they basically took two characters from the Superman universe and merged it into one. Because Tess Mercer was basically a play on Tessmacher.
Ah.
And Mercy Graves.
Mm.
Luthor's basically aide de camp through most of that was kind of a play on both of them.
Yeah.
And then then it was revealed that she was actually Lena Luthor, and things went weird from there. But yeah, so now you get a closer to canon version with Supergirl, but still, the whole aliens boo thing that they did kind of is just, I'm like, I don't care. I honestly don't care.
I mean, I'm not entirely against the whole doing some version of the whole MAGA thing, but what they're messing with the character storylines in a way that makes a lot of people not care about the characters, which makes it hard to sell a difficult story like that.
Mm-hmm. Um, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I like the Flash story about his time in prison and stuff better. I mean the Arrow stuff. I'm just not quite as thrilled with the Flash's daughter from the future because, for one, that's a freaking trope.
To be fair, it's a trope from Flash.
Yeah, but it's still a
She's
trope.
basically she's basically Impulse, kind of
Well, no,
combination of Impulse and a few other characters.
well, Excess is a character in the Flash universe.
Yeah, but in the Flash universe, does she travel back in time and become this Flash's sidekick? Because pretty sure that's
Um,
mainly Bart's prerogative.
she's usually a member of the Legion of Superheroes and supposed
Right.
to be Barry's granddaughter
Yeah, so
instead
they're
of daughter.
combining. They basically combined the Tornado Twins, Excess, and Impulse into one character.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, because she's supposed to be the daughter of one of the Tornado Twins.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's one of those things that's just no. Anyway, I think that's all we really have to say about that, because that was a completely impromptu conversation. I was waiting for Tim, but he's not here, so let's go ahead and move on to the episode summary.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, got the stopwatch up?
I've got it.
All right, give me a countdown.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we start this episode with Quinn and Charlie basically breaking into the school because Quill's intruder alarm has gone off, and they discover that it indicates the intruders in the gym And in there, they find a woman in basically a ball gown who tells them to get away. It's dangerous. But before they can do much of anything else, a rift opens up in time and space, and out comes a Dalek. Both groups are surprised that the other knows what a Dalek is, and basically winds up with them running off and Charlie getting sucked through the rift, where he winds up in 1963 in Coe-Hill School. Meanwhile, the two ladies, the lady in the ball gown introduces herself as Dorothy McShane, also known as Ace. Basically wind up retreating from the Dalek in this universe. They wind up hiding from the Dalek, who of course immediately finds the computer room and basically starts downloading the internet. In particular, downloading the files of UNIT, which were laughably protected, and a really dumb move on UNIT's part, leaving them online. And learns that the event that he was in, called the Shoreditch Incident, basically they lost. So basically analyzing the files to figure out why he plans to go back in time. Meanwhile, Charlie in 63 runs into basically a soldier in the countermeasures group, which tells him he's not allowed there, and kicks him out of the school after slamming him on the ear. And he quickly runs into a younger Ace, who basically wants to talk to him a little more, but she's a bit busy. So as she runs off to deal with what's going on in Remembrance of the Daleks, the other group eventually winds up doubling back to get Ace's bag, which had been left in the gym, and eventually winds up in the science lab, where basically Ace deals with the Dalek the Ace way, which involves Nitro 9, Bunsen burner butane, and a whole lot of cojones. End result, Ace is knocked unconscious, half the science lab is blown up, and the Dalek is down but not out. It can't fire its gun, it can't move, and eventually has to appeal to Quill to basically try to bring its motivation back. It does so by promising that he'll let her go into the past to collect Charlie. Of course, Quill is very leery of this because Daleks rarely keep their promises to non-Daleks. Yeah. Charlie, meanwhile, finds the TARDIS, pounds on it asking for the doctor, but gets no answer, because probably around this time, the doctor's busy having tea and talking about the effects of ripples in time. He, however, eventually has to go back into the fight, runs once again into the soldier, but before the soldier can do anything further, they're attacked by Daleks. The soldier dies a ignoble death, and Charlie has to go on the run. Eventually, Quill gets the Dalek's motor unit up running and agrees to, after a couple of bouts with Ace, and they head off to the gym, which is the source of the temporal disturbance. Likewise, Charlie winds up in the same place. The rift opens. Quill and the Dalek comes through. Quill collects Charlie and promptly leaves before the Daleks can decide to exterminate her. And the Dalek, about to transmit all its data to the Dalek Central Command, is unfortunately stopped by Ace and is fortunately stopped by Ace and the countermeasures group. Basically ending the story. Quill and Ace and adult Ace trade some later pleasantries and leave. Basically, that's the end of the story.
Basically.
Time?
4 minutes, 48 seconds.
Under time. Okay, so let's talk about what we liked. Tim is not here yet. So it's just basically going to be Matt, Bill, and myself. So Matt, what did you like about this episode overall?
Basically, I like the music.
Yeah, they did try to make it as close to like the Remembrance of the Daleks in the
Um,
past.
Mhm.
oh yeah, you could tell like when they switched time frames very easily in this one because you could hear the difference in the background music.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I would add a nice little touch is they did a more retro version of the class theme at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Actually, that was a version that was actually made for the show and never used.
Mm.
Um, Bill, How about you?
I'm going to have to go with Sophie Aldred. Just brings amazing energy whenever she does a big finish performance, and this is no exception. She just
Swear to
es-
God, she sounds exactly the same as she did 30 years ago.
Just about, yeah.
Mm. It's especially in contrast with Quill's like ugh attitude. Like
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Ace is
I
just
forgot how much Quill pisses
glowing.
me off.
She pisses me off, but she pisses me off in a good way. Like she's a very gray area character. Like I see the
Yeah.
logic she's going on, even if I don't 100% agree with it.
All right. So I liked the continuity references they threw in here.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, of course, they managed to fit the entire 63 stuff in during the events of Remembrance of the Daleks.
Hmm.
Um, but the references they did with Ace, the future stuff, the charitable Earth, which
Right.
is something that we will hear a reference to in a couple of weeks.
And her using her real name, that's a reference to the VNAs, isn't it?
No, that was always her name.
No, but I mean, I the fact that she went back to using her real name.
Might not have been the VNAs. It might have been some of the non-canon production work, though.
Okay, because I the only VNA that I've read with Ace in, well, I think it might be the only VNA I've read at all was Lung Barrow, and I know that at the start of that I was wondering why she was using, McShane instead of Ace.
Well,
So
the
when she
Bill
said
the,
her when
the
she
the
said
Bill
McShane
Bag
here, I
stuff,
kind of mhm.
the Bill Bag stuff. They started trying to
Oh,
use the Doctor and Ace,
yes,
and then they
the
basically
Professor and
got
Ace.
slapped with
Yep.
a non thing, so it became the Professor and McShane. Because
I
they
I thought they had to change it to Alice.
I think they did to McShane, but yeah, because I don't think that name was canonically used in direct reference to Ace in the thing.
Because I know in the
I think
VNAs
I
she's referred
think it
to
was
as
the last
Dorothy
name of her
McShane.
mother,
Okay.
but it was never implied directly to Ace or her grandmother or something like that. Anyway, I just liked all the little continuity nods because it made things so much cooler.
Do you count the Roy Skelton ring modulator among that?
You realize that was still Nick Briggs?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was, but he was saying that he specifically studied Skelton's Daleks to imitate them.
Well,
Yes.
he didn't go out of his way to study them either. Apparently, he has a young son who's just gotten into
Yes,
Doctor Who in a big
yes, and loves
way
watching that
and is
episode.
watching the Dalek episodes over and over again.
Yes, well, he's watching Sylvester's episodes in
In
particular
particular,
because
he
apparently
literally
he
loves
met
Sylvester
Sylvester
episodes
and
too,
just
so he's
loves
seen
him.
that
Yeah,
Dalek episode a lot.
Sylvester's like an eccentric uncle to the kid now, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, yeah, because he could essentially his Nicholas Briggs' son can walk up to Sylvester, go at him, and he'll do something funny like lean over or pretend like his hat's flying away or something.
Anyway,
So
yeah, I that retro feel. I was like, did they get another voice actor? Then I checked. Nope, Nick Briggs
no,
voiced
it's
all the
Nick
Daleks.
Briggs.
I'm like,
He's
oh,
just super studying.
yep. All right. So, what did we dislike about the episode, Matt?
Oh, what I just like about the episode. Um, hmm. Actually, that's a damn good question. Pass for now.
I'm gonna go with I felt the Charlie bits kind of dragged. And I'm gonna kind of as a kind of addendum to that, which I understand why they probably couldn't bring in the countermeasures cast, but that would have been something that would have really livened up those bits and made them a whole lot more enjoyable. As it was, whenever Charlie was on screen, it was just like, okay, let's
Yeah.
wait until it gets back to the Dalek plot. it never really got that much better.
His scene with Ace was good.
His scene with Ace was good, and I also enjoyed the way he combated the Daleks. And
I would
also the fact that he mentioned that modern school systems would have a field day with how much dangerous stuff they have lying around.
I wish they could have cameoed Sylvester McCoy for one scene.
Just one
Yes.
scene, that would have been nice, yeah. That
Where
would
he
be one
runs
thing
into
I would
Charlie,
have
but
liked
Charlie
to have seen.
completely doesn't recognize him as the doctor.
Right.
And just
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm sorry, I was looking for someone. I'm sorry to bump into you. Just hear that. That's all right. And
Or
then
or if there was a scene where Ace was like, "I wonder what happened to that boy," and the doctor's like, "Who are you talking about? Never mind. Let's go. We have things to do."
oh no. So yeah, and that was actually kind of tagged into what I disliked. Is I really wish they could have cameoed some more people,
Mm.
especially McCoy. Would have been nice to actually have that.
Just if
Okay.
nothing else, at least a quick cameo, yeah.
Yep. All right. Favorite scene, Matt.
Favorite scene? I'm gonna go with the conversation between Quill, Ace, and the Dalek.
God damn it!
Just the back and forth between those three different characters.
When Ace is tied up.
Yeah,
and
while
she's
Ace is tied up and
doing repairs.
Quill's just
Fuck
like
you,
about
Matt.
had enough of her.
I wish I could deactivate your voice box too.
Yes, that was my favorite scene. Where Quill starts comparing the Daleks' blathering to human males,
Mm-hmm.
or the Dalek casing to men in their cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sitting there snort.
Oh, look,
just
you started her up
completely-
again. I wish I could turn your voice boxes off too.
I'm just completely snorting and chuckling throughout that entire scene. All right, Bill, how about you?
I really liked the cold open. I actually thought I was listening to a trailer because I had listened to the BTS from the previous episode, and then I just hear that, and I'm just like, oh, it's a trailer for the next. And then the music starts playing. I'm like, oh, that was the opening. But I really like they just start straight off. Boom, Ace. Boom, Dalek. Boom.
Mhm.
Everything is fucking happening, and I loved it.
Yeah, they didn't hold back
I
on
was
getting this
so
thing
hyped
started.
after that scene.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I think I have to go with when Ace goes completely apeshit on the Dalek with the Nitro 9 and the butane,
Mm,
and Quill's just like, "Oh, this is not going to end well,"
right.
because it's such an Ace thing to do. It's just
Yes.
perfect.
The only thing that would have made it more perfect is the Dalek called her small female. What do you call it, small?
Thing is though, she's older now, so she might not. Be
True.
small
So she's
now.
probably garnered enough.
In fact, they
height.
did reference that later with Charlie, small male.
Small male.
Mhm.
Oh, that's charming.
I'm not small, It's All right. So, what was your least favorite scene, Matt?
Least favorite scene. Trying to think. I know I have a few that were like meh. I didn't think that the what do they call it? That soldier guy that was telling Charlie off could get quite that abusive. But then again, 1960s Britain, maybe.
So that's the stuff with him is your least favorite.
Yeah, he was that guy in particular felt like a waste of space.
And once again, Matt steals mine.
Especially since he had two scenes.
Yeah.
How about you, Bill?
So, the one Matt mentioned was definitely on my list. I'm actually going to say the scene with past Ace. I like the idea on paper, but I just feel like, especially I think that Sophie Aldred kind of considered her voice as being more different from past Ace than anybody else did, and she overcompensated. To the point where it kind of felt distracting. Like it seemed like her voice just felt really weird. And listening to the BTS, I think she just tried too hard to capture her younger self. And if she hadn't tried so hard, it would have sold it a lot better. But it was kind of distracting, and so that makes that my favorite scene.
Yeah, I have to pass now because all of mine have been taken.
Well, the fact there's only
That-
two particularly bad scenes means it wasn't that bad of an episode.
Oh
So-
no, this
So
wasn't.
nothing in the present bothered anybody.
No.
No.
All right, so that takes us to our final thoughts. This is going to be a short
Wow.
one tonight, people.
Very short one. We're just like speed run.
Matt. Well, it helps that there's only three of us,
Mhm.
True. If
and we rambled on as much as we could
Right.
earlier.
we
And
honestly
that's
have,
why,
we'll suddenly just get at the last second that Tim shows
And
up.
the fact that I figured this would be so short is also why I don't know if you saw in the chat when I mentioned a possible kind of small segment after this review that might be worth discussing. But
I didn't see that, but
okay, well I'll
we might bring it up
say what I'm
just
saying
to
after
see.
we do ratings. Yeah.
Yeah. So final thoughts on this one, and I believe I'm top of the list again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good episode. I'm going to have to flip a coin on this one. There's a few. There's actually I might not even have to. There's very minor, if any, flaws in this one. Everything they added onto this one was really good, and they actually kept it interesting enough and action-packed enough that you don't feel like the rest of the cast is missing in this one for a change.
True.
This one feels like it's a legit meant to be only these two characters from
And it's-
class.
They actually make it a lot more logical in terms of why the others aren't there.
Mm-hmm. And they don't have to keep bringing up the fact that, oh, should we bring in the others? Let's not.
Right.
It literally happens so fast that there's not even time to think of that.
All
So,
right.
lots of good stuff with that.
Okay. That you done, Matt?
Yeah, I guess I'm done.
Bill?
Okay. I found it really enjoyable. I think the story is a little bare bones in the sense that it's almost a bottle episode, but not quite. But I mean, still, yeah, the acting and the past references and everything still make it really enjoyable. A fun episode and a fitting final act.
All right. Yeah, I enjoy this. In a way, it's like the audio version of the Deep Space Nine episode Trials and Tribulations. Where they, in that particular episode, the crew goes back into the original series episode, The Trouble with Tribbles. Here, you've got the cast of Class, or at least one of them, going back into the 1988 serial Remembrance of the Daleks, and it works just as well.
It's literally in Remembrance.
Yeah, it's all in the title. Double, nice little pun there. Anyway, I found it to be enjoyable. The insertion of Ace worked well. It just was kind of really likable for me. I really enjoyed this more than I liked any of the others thus far. So yeah, this one's a win in my book. Okay. Now we go to ratings.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, what would you give this?
I believe my last week was a 4.5.
Last week was a 4. It was a
Last week
solid
was a
4
4.
by all of us. You gave everybody loves Reagan a 3. Now you know it's a 4. Where are you going?
I'm going up, but I'm trying to think how high I'm going to go up. I think there's only so many small flaws, so I think I'm going to give this one a 5.
Okay. Matt gives it a 5. Bill.
So I've been debating as to whether I like this enough more than the previous episode to bump the score up. On one hand, there's a lot of fun references. On the other hand, it's a fairly bare bones story. I guess with the inclusion of Sophie Aldred and just the energy she brings to it, I guess I'll use that to justify raising it up to a 4.5.
4.5. And I agree with Bill. I am going to give this a 4.5. I would have given it a little more, but I did find the bit with the countermeasure sergeant a bit lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And if they'd added more classic cameos, I would have given it a improved probably it would have been worthy of a 5.
That's why it's really close for me. Is a couple more classic cameos that were just been at least one moment only kind of things would have been better, but
All right.
oh well.
So at the moment, this rates a solid 4.67 on our charts, which rounds up to a 4.7. Which will put this fairly high on our lists.
Well, I'll beat out the other class episodes. Drum roll.
Holy cow! I'm sorry. I'm a little shocked. Apparently, Google Sheets has redone their sort things.
Oh.
Oh.
So I was like, what's what now? Okay, In Remembrance comes in at number 19
Woo!
out of 279. It is on par with Stolen Earth, Journey's End, The Green Death, and Day of the Doctor. Wow. Can't really say much about that. It is better than Bells of St. John, The Return of Dr. Mysterio, The Magician's Apprentice, Which is Familiar, The Invasion of Time, Ghost Monument, Arachnids in the UK, Talons of Wang Chiang, and Seeds of Death. It is not as good as Dalek, Genesis of the Daleks, Empty Child, The Doctor Dances, Time Heist, Robots of Death, Dark Water, Death in Heaven, Armageddon's Factor, School Reunion, and it also now rates as the highest Big Finish on our list.
Wow.
Not
only the highest
closest,
Big Finish, but also I think the highest class episode.
Oh, definitely.
And do we think it'll go up or down when Tim gets here?
That's a good question.
It's not time lashed. So that's all we have to say about class 19 out of 279.
So one of the things I was going to wanted to bring up at the end was, so that's our conclusion of the second volume of Class by Big Finish. Just kind of wondering how we feel about the box set overall and what they would need to do for us to be enthusiastic about buying Volume 3.
Okay.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Okay. Can I field this one first?
Sure.
Okay. So the writing in this one was a real mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode was not that good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It was just blah. The second one was mildly good, but this one was over the top. They need to make it more exciting. They need to make it more relevant to Doctor Who itself, which they did in this episode.
Yeah.
They just need to make it basically exciting and enjoyable rather than just drag it on. And bringing in more of the class group together would definitely help that. Okay, what about you guys?
Shall I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I definitely agree with bringing in more of the class cast members for a single episode. I know they probably don't all have matching schedules, if you will, but that shouldn't stop them from being able to direct them properly in Big Finish to get them to get their stuff together, even if they have to do it separately. Obviously that means that there might be also longer episodes, depending. But that's also not a bad thing. I think a lot of the Doctor Who episodes... actually, no, a lot of the Doctor Who stuff is 3 episodes long, isn't it, when they release them?
Yeah. The episode runs about an hour, which was an episode of class length, which is perfect, in my opinion.
So, yeah. There's no reason, as long as they can actually get a good writer in there. And yes, there's definitely a problem where they were finding their feet again, it seemed. And this last episode in particular was really good, so it does merge from mediocre to really good. They need to ground this a little bit more, and they need to officially step out of the first season. Is another thing I think is a problem too, is they are trying to encapsulate too much shit that's only within the first season's timeline.
So yeah, they're trying to do too much in 3 months.
Yeah.
Bill just apparently lost his internet.
Oh. Well, that's a burp.
Yep.
Um,
Anyway,
but yeah, there's just too much going on in the small amount of timeline. They need to officially figure out where they're going to take the show now. They really do need to step beyond the couple of months of the first season and advance this thing and make any corrections that they need to make.
yeah, they need to address the elephant in the room that was the Weeping Angels end of the actual show.
They need to address the Weeping Angels, and they also need to address the
Preferably,
fact
preferably in
that
like a 5-minute brush off.
hmm and they also need to address the fact that what was it, April turned into the Shadowkin guy.
Mm-hmm.
They need to somehow fix that too, because that was a what the hell moment.
Yeah, the last episode of the show was basically a ginormous what the fuck, which is why they've stopped so much. But it
hmm
needs to be addressed. It needs to go on. I mean, Torchwood is going on.
Yeah, I mean, I
Everything else
understand
is
why they're
going on.
stalling because they need to try and get some writers in here that know how to write for class, and they need to
Mm-hmm.
figure out where the good spots are and where the bad spots are, and feel out the series. But now I think after 2 volumes, they should have felt it out enough by now to know where their strong points are, and they need to fix this thing.
Yep.
They need to fix this thing, and then class could actually seriously become a good audio series for them.
Yep. But at the moment, it's kind of a mixed bag because they're just trying to do too much and too little stuff with too little material.
Yeah.
Remember, the original show was only 8 episodes.
That's right. It
So
was
that
sort
doesn't
of a
give them.
short series, and it only lasted for so long, and it's also all stuck in 2016 still.
Yeah, and that doesn't give them a lot to work on.
Mm-hmm. So they need to stop pumping the brakes, and they need to start letting this thing go, and they need to find answers for their problems.
Yep. All right.
And
So I think that's
now that they've officially attached themselves to Doctor Who a little more closely, especially with this last episode, there's a wealth of places where they could go to fix their
mhm.
problems now.
The one problem with a show like Class is that you have a finite timeline.
That's true
That you
too.
can keep all the characters together. It's the same problem that Buffy had.
Mm-hmm.
Only Buffy found a way to work around it. And that's the fact that, and it's the same problem Smallville had, except Smallville found a way to work around it. Is the fact that if you keep characters together in a school setting, eventually they grow up and graduate.
Mm-hmm. This show needs to officially get out of high school now.
Not
Not
necessarily,
right
but they
away,
need to
but they
start.
do need to grow in that direction.
Yes.
It
So,
needs to get ready to go forward again.
yep. So it looks like we're not getting Bill back. Apparently his internet's completely dead. So do you want to
Oof.
take us out, Matt?
Sure, I can take us out. Yeah, it's still not Tim yet. I'm still
No.
checking the.
Nope. He's still dead.
Still not Tim.
He's,
Okay, well, I
yeah.
guess we'll get
Review of shame
a
from
review of shame from him tomorrow then, or next week rather, from him then. So,
Uh-huh.
all right, going to the holder image. I hope you all enjoyed. So thank you all for watching again, and if you enjoyed the show, don't forget you can catch us on YouTube at Unearthly Podcast. You can catch us when we post what's going on with the show on Twitch at Unearthly Podcast. And you can also catch us on Twitter when we are getting ready for the show at Unearthly Pod. You can find us also on Facebook at Unearthly Podcast. And if you really enjoy the show and want to help us out financially speaking and give us $1 or two, you can always check out our Patreon at An Unearthly Podcast.
All right. So next week, with class dismissed again, we will finish out our winter season with a new mini section called The Cranium of Chibnall, starting with his writing for Doctor Who in 42, written by Chris Chibnall and starring David Tennant as the Doctor and Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones. So you can look forward to our review of that next week.
The Chibnall wrap up. All right. See you all next week. Have a good night.